welcome to Served Up. This podcast is where hospitality meets leadership and where we take an honest look at the business of beverage. I'm Bridget Albert. I've spent my career building cocktail programs, mentoring rising talent, judging competitions, and advocating for women in our industry. I'm joined by my co-host, Eric Heemer, one of only 5 people in the world to hold both the Master Sommelier and Master of Wine titles. His depth of knowledge and global perspective brings tremendous insight to every conversation. This is Served Up.
Welcome to Served Up. Our guest today is Lim Achatz. Sam is a veteran brand strategist and creative director. She blends vision, cultural intuition, and luxury design sensibility to build category-shaping consumer experiences. Her background spans luxury beauty, editorial, culinary hospitality, and high-impact brand strategy, where she spent 2 decades helping companies transform ideas into culture. She also happens to be married to award-winning chef Grant Achatz. Her latest venture is as the co-founder of High Snaps, a hemp-based THC CBD drink booster that turns any drink into a better drink, discreetly, deliciously, and in seconds. Knowing that we would be releasing this episode right before Father's Day, I invited my daughter Julia to be my co-host while Bridget takes the day off. We talk about all of this and more, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome, Sam. Bridget has the day off, so I have a special co-host today, my daughter, Julia Heemer. Hi, Julia. Welcome to Served Up.
Hi, Dad. Thanks. Great to be
Hi,
here.
Julia.
And Sam, welcome to Served Up.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be here.
So let's start from the beginning a little bit. We'd love to get to know you a bit more. Can you tell us a bit about where you're from, where you grew up, what that was like?
Yeah, absolutely. I am from Chicago originally. I was born in Hinsdale and I grew up here a little bit, but I mainly grew up in Indiana. I went to school in Nashville. I went to Vanderbilt. And after that, I lived in New York for about 12 years. I was in LA for a couple years, and now I'm back in Chicago. I've been here since 2020.
Oh, all over the place. Love it. Were there any specific influences or people that sort of helped shape your trajectory for your businesses?
Yeah, I mean, this is my first foray into beverage and into THC, as many people, since the industry didn't really exist a few years ago. I actually have a long background in fashion, luxury beauty, and branding. And I joke that I married into fine dining and hospitality. I was a fashion and beauty editor in New York for a long time. And this was like during the Wild West of social media. I think Instagram and Twitter had just started. We were running websites when magazines were wondering if these website things were going to stick around. And I really was in the beginning stages of social media and digital media. And then I ran a branded content studio inside of a creative agency. And we had launched a beauty brand there that ended up taking off. And from there, I ran the creative strategy at another luxury beauty brand. We had $1 billion valuation in the first 2 years. And after that, I moved to the West Coast and I actually ran a venture-backed beauty startup helping celebrities and influencers kind of develop their beauty brands. So I was kind of part of the era of, oh my God, why does every celebrity have an eyeshadow palette? And I really apologize to all of the climate activists in the world for doing that kind of work. But then during the pandemic, well, right before the pandemic, I had exited the incubator in Jan 2020. And I was with my fiance at the time. We were going back and forth between Chicago and LA. And I was like, maybe I'll come to Chicago for a couple months. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Maybe I'll take some time off work for the first time ever. What's the worst that could happen? And that was in March 2020. And it was the beginning of the pandemic, as we all know. So then I just got thrown into restaurants. My husband has a 3 Michelin star restaurant group, the Alinea Group, and just dove headfirst into restaurant life during the pandemic, which was probably the craziest possible time for me to get my feet wet in restaurants, hospitality, beverage, food. in general. So now years later, I still help him on a lot of like creative development and experiential stuff and storytelling. And so that is the long-winded version of my background. My dear friend, Allison Park, and my business partner, she had just exited her company. She had sold her brand Whiskey, and she wanted to see like if I wanted to work on a drink together. Both my husband and I stopped drinking a few years ago, and I really didn't think that alcohol was something that felt really authentic to where I was in life. And I had asked her if she had tried a THC drink. And I think her reaction was, I've never done THC, and I didn't even know you could put it in a drink. Like, what are you talking about? So she came to visit in Chicago, and I had kind of introduced her to a few drinks that we'd fallen in love with. And we kind of have gone from there. And it was just a really quick, fun, creative project with a friend that has turned into a really exciting, cool brand that is High Snaps.
I think the whole creative strategy is super interesting. Can you walk us through a little bit more of the process of what that looks like from the start?
Yeah, I think that both of us not having a background in cannabis is becoming a really big differentiator and kind of advantage. We wanted to develop something that felt accessible and beautiful and kind of help destigmatize this world of people thinking they need to like whisper or like keep cannabis a secret or, sneak an edible in. We thought that by creating something beautiful, we were helping to destigmatize the industry in general and also offer people a real alternative to alcohol that would feel just as buzzy, but without the booze and all of the negative, like things like hangovers and, all of the negative health things that we both started to feel as we were getting older and like, drinking less alcohol. This has just been such a great alternative, and positioning that and storytelling it in how it's been really helpful in our own personal lives and what all the benefits are and how it doesn't have to be this kind of like weird thing that you do in the corner or, no one's going at, you don't have to go outside and smoke a joint or like eat an edible or chug a can really fast. You can kind of integrate it into your life, into what you're already doing. You don't have to like get up from the table. You can still like have cocktails with friends. You can still like go meet people for drinks. And the social ritual aspect was really important to us. And so that's kind of helped guide how we've entered the market. We've also kind of entered it really last minute and in a rush because out of just nature of legislation. People had warned us that this was a high risk industry before starting. They were like, if you start this, there is a chance that you could lose your whole business in the first year. And I was like, okay, well, we don't have a business. So we would just be right back where we started. So the risk was super appealing to me because that meant a lot of people weren't doing it. And the worst case scenario was what I was doing before I started. And so we were like, that felt exciting and different. And then just kind of along the way, we had a couple unlucky things or just, who knows, the timing of things. Like our first inventory run landed in Chicago the day that the federal ban news came out. And we were sitting, literally building our warehouse, building cages, unloading 75,000 units of High Snaps. And they were like, this whole thing could be illegal next month. And we were like, oh my God. So the brand strategist and me had wanted to sit for a few weeks and like develop a beautiful 6 to 8 week rollout strategy where we have influencers and a marketing campaign and press and we do everything. And then we were like, oh my God, we have to build a website tonight. And so our amazing web developer, AKA my business partner's husband, he very quickly figured out how to spin up a website for us. And we just did everything at lightning speed. And then I believe the day that we were about to launch our website, Chicago had put in this huge, there was a lot of movement in wanting to get hemp banned in the city of Chicago. And we were like, oh my God, here we go again. And so we threw out our second wave of beautiful rollout strategy plans. And we just opened the website and started telling people about it. So we kind of feel like anything that we've tried to plan or think about strategically has gone out the window, and we just go with our gut, and we're really, really intuitive. And if it feels good, we do it. If it feels right, sometimes we miss, and that's okay. I think there's so much noise and chatter in the world every day that if you make mistakes, like it's better to try them and see what happens. And you can always just change it tomorrow.
That's so true. And it's the old nothing ventured, nothing gained strategy.
Yeah.
If you don't try, you're never going to know if it would be successful or not. So let's take a step back. So the product is called High Snaps. You've told us quite a bit about how you developed it, how it came to be. But I think there's a lot of, not confusion, but curious people out in the listeners' world that don't quite understand the difference between hemp-based THC products and cannabis-based products. So could you just give us a quick, simple breakdown on that?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a ton of confusion. I feel like I answer this question differently every single day, and there's so much to know. So hemp-derived THC is by nature a generally less potent, less strong version of THC than what you'll find at a dispensary. And everything in the hemp plant is cannabis sativa. And so it's always like kind of a lighter, more gentle, happier, like lifted feeling that you're going to get versus more heavy, more intense marijuana-based products, which might really hit you hard and be a little bit intimidating. So hemp-derived THC is protected under the Farm Bill of 2018, which is coming up under a lot of legislation. And there's a lot of arguments about how it should be treated. But it has been this almost a loophole in the industry just because the science and the technology behind liquefying THC and having it be stable, effective, and not taste terrible has only been around for a few years. That technology is called nano-emulsification, and they are able to take the hemp-derived THC, emulsify it into something that doesn't taste awful and that will be a really effective thing to shift your state of mind in a beverage. And it's kind of caused this Wild West of drink brands to pop up everywhere. And there absolutely are responsible ways to farm, source, and produce hemp-derived Delta-9 THC emulsion. And there are shortcuts. There's low quality. There's like some kind of like sketchy ingredients that have flooded the market with products. Those are kind of like the gas station things, the like weird off-brand candies and the drinks that claim to be 100, 200 milligrams. Like it's actually just really watered down, like synthetic isolates that feel really problematic and is what's kind of causing all of this controversy to exist. But I will say, after developing this drink for the past few months, we have they grow our hemp on an organic farm in the US. We have one of the most trusted emulsion suppliers in the country. When you see all these drinks that are popping up that have like really beautiful, like trustworthy brands, we're probably all getting our emulsion from the same 5 suppliers. And those emulsions are third-party tested. They're lab certified. We go as far to be like kosher and halal certified, as well as gluten-free and like GMP. We've gotten like every certification that you possibly can to be like, do you trust this? Is it going to be a beautiful, like consistent, safe experience? Like we've got it. It's a shame really to see so many kind of sketchy, unregulated products like flood the market and really make it a bad experience for some people. And that's been a big challenge. But you really do learn that there are so many people in the hemp industry at every level that make a really quality product that helps people. And so hopefully we can land on the right side of history when it comes down to November of this year.
Yeah, here's hoping. Well, our fingers are crossed for you. So tell us a little bit more about the product itself. So where did you come up with the name High Snaps? It's a great, catchy name.
Thank you. So we had actually kind of thought about developing a canned drink at first. My husband is wonderful, and it was a fun creative process coming up with a drink with him. And we have a couple recipes that are kind of on the shelf right now that we will hold for another day, that some people have said is like the best flavor they've ever had. So maybe one day we'll work on those. But as we were going through this development process, we were on the road a lot, and I would get shipments from our emulsion supplier that would come in tiny little bottles and with eyedroppers. And they were like, here's your flavor in this like 8 to 10 ounce drink. Take the eyedropper with the THC and use like 3 or 4 droplets. And Allison and I kind of both had this aha moment where we're like, is this all it takes? It's just this milliliter of like these few droplets of THC. And our chemists and our emulsion suppliers all said yes, but like consumers won't see the value, and they don't understand why they would spend money on drinks without the drink. And I was on a flight probably like every 3 weeks this entire last year. And so many times I would be looking down at drinks that were delivered, or, just drinks in my fridge that I wanted to take with me, and I wasn't able to. But when we would get samples of our emulsion, I was able to like kind of just put those in my pocket. And we were like, why don't we just sell this? Like, this makes so much more sense. And on an operating side, on an ingredient management side, on just a like financial side, it was something that we really, really believed in. And when I worked in the beauty industry, we worked with these packets a lot. They were the type of packets that you would use to sample face cream or serum or perfume in a magazine. It's a snap packet that holds 3 milliliters of liquid. And it was a really beautiful form factor that we hadn't really seen a lot of. There's only a couple of machines in the United States that make this. And so we tracked one down and started working with them on, they'd already worked on a few different like CBD products and like hemp emulsions and all kinds of like other commercial things like salad dressing and olive oil and things like that. And so that's kind of like where we were like, this is such a fun way to package this. And then the other thing that we sell them in 10 packs, and I really modeled the package size on an Altoids tin. And it's just because it fits in your pocket, it fits in your purse. It's super easy. You don't have to think about it before going out. It can kind of just always be there. And luckily, we didn't know this either. When we got our products in, someone was like, oh, the Gen Z wallet. And we were like, what? And they were like, Gen Z, they don't use wallets anymore. They just use Altoids tins. That's so smart that you like turned it into like a Gen Z wallet. And I was like, yeah, totally. So, that kind of has just really helped us along the way. And that's kind of how we came about and discovered our packaging. And it's just been like really, we've had a lot of surprises along the way. Like you said earlier, like until you actually like put something out in the market, you don't know like what the feedback is, like who it's going to resonate with. I don't think we really expected the diverse types of customers and audiences and uses and use cases for our high snaps. At first, we just thought we were giving people agency to drink whenever they wanted. And right after we launched, we realized, oh my God, you could drink this. You don't even have to put it in a drink. Like you can put it on food, you can put it in a smoothie, you can put it on your desserts. It actually weirdly tastes very good on savory foods, like French fries and mac and cheese.
Interesting. So I suppose the high part of snaps is not like hello. It's
oh yeah, sorry, you asked about the name. So we actually didn't know what to call it, and I think Allison had been high and like drinking on a drink, like brainstorming. We kind of hit a wall with our like creative thinking, and we really wanted to make a stand and really have people understand the form factor and that it was like a snap packet. And she called me one night and was like, what if we just called it high snaps? Like we were saying hi when you're high. And I think her voice note was like, I don't know if this is a good idea or a high idea. And when I heard it, I was like, I actually think it's a great idea. Some of our best ideas come to us when we are actually on a high snap. So I credit the product
many
for that.
musicians would agree with you over the years. Just ask Jerry Garcia.
Absolutely.
So you've already mentioned that High Snaps comes in a 10-pack. And where can you buy it? How do you sell High Snaps?
So we sell it online currently. It's highsnaps.com, and we sell 10 packs and a 30-pack refill. Our most popular product is one of each. So people can buy the tin and then just kind of refill it as they go. We have a couple of just friends, cafes and retailers in Chicago who started carrying it, and we're building out a wholesale program. And so hopefully we'll be able to scale into retail in the next few months. We originally built it as a direct to consumer brand, just because that's what I know. And it seemed like such a unique product that we really showcased it through our content. Like, people, you can explain it from start to finish, and people will still, as soon as they see it, they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. And they just don't really understand. But then it's so obvious that when it removes all the friction that a canned drink does, there's no heavy packaging, there's no extra calories, there's no committing to a certain flavor. You can really just have it in your pocket, put it in whatever you want, and that thing becomes a 5 milligram THC and 5 milligram CBD infused drink or food.
It sounds like a brilliant idea. And I had another question that you mentioned earlier, that it's made from organically grown hemp. Are you allowed to put that on the packaging? Does it say from organically grown hemp?
So our hemp is grown organic on an organic farm, but we actually have the THC is stabilized in a little bit of coconut exosperm, so the coconut water. And we put a touch of sucralose in for sweetener. And then we have a preservative to keep it shelf stable for 12 months so that you can really not have to refrigerate it. And you can kind of keep it in your home, in your car. So we're not a fully organic product, but we are still kosher, halal certified, gluten-free, 0 calorie and 0 sugar.
You've got everything else on there.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn the mood a little bit more serious for a moment. You mentioned possible legislation change coming November for the way THC-derived hemp products are regulated. So this could possibly lead to prohibition on products like yours. I know that's a scary thought, but what do you see happening? Look into your crystal ball and tell us how you think this is going to play out.
It breaks my heart to hear about it. And as we learned everything in development in the last year, I really would like to see cannabis evolve into this destigmatized, normalized, regular thing. People don't just want to get high. They want to feel better. People want to be more social. They want to relax. They want to feel creative. There's so many studies about the power of THC and CBD in lowering your stress, lowering your cortisol, lowering your anxiety, really turning down that self-judgment and that self-talk. So you're really enhancing your free-flowing creativity. It's so helpful for chronic pain. It's so helpful for relaxation, and people who have perimenopause or menopausal symptoms are a huge audience of ours. They're feeling so much relief in temperature regulation, hormone fluctuation, sleeping. There are so many positive things that come from low dose THC and CBD that I really hope that by November, these arguments can be made and these things can be normalized where this does not become an outlawed industry. I truly believe in the product and the power that it has to heal and help people. And it is certainly not hurting anyone. I really genuinely believe if everyone in the government was on a low dose of THC and CBD, we would be in a very different place. The news would feel different every day. Decision making. I actually wrote a Substack about why I think Donald Trump really needs to smoke some weed. And it has all of the science-backed evidence as to why it is so helpful for people in leadership positions, in decision-making positions, in high stress, high environments, can make better cognitive decisions, have better executive function if they have a little bit of THC in their life. So we have a big battle ahead of us because the alcohol and marijuana and cannabis lobbyists as well, I understand it is a big business out there, but I think there is plenty of room for both. And I think that the brands who are accepting and adopting and making room for low dose THC drinks and hemp derived drinks are making a better choice than the ones who are choosing to beat them down. And there's just not enough evidence of negative things that there is a reason for it to be an outlawed substance.
Yeah, I agree with you. And of course, one possible outcome is that hemp THC products could be regulated by a 3-tier system, similar to the way beverage alcohol is regulated, or it could go state by state. I'm sure you read the news about Colorado and what's going on there. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, the 3-tier system, it would definitely be. So I just want to speak for like almost all hemp brand. Every good quality hemp brand like wants regulation, is like pro regulation of some kind, because we do want all of the hemp products in the market to be good quality. We do want them to be third party tested. And, we do want people to feel safe and to feel like they can, rely on the same quality of product of any food and beverage in the US. I think entering a 3-tier system is something that we're familiar with. So luckily, because my business partner comes from the spirits world. And so she has experience in the whiskey space and understanding like what that feels like and looks like. So we are planning for that if that is to become like an outcome. Unfortunately, not every hemp brand has that experience and that insight and that foresight. And so I do think it's going to hurt a lot of small businesses and small brands, especially if some brands get a little bit too excited and maybe over leverage themselves with their production or with their growth. We've heard, we hear stories about this every week where a different brand has either lost funding or had to let go of a ton of staff or this and that, but their businesses are doing millions, if not tens of millions in revenue. And we just want to keep an eye on it, everything, grow slowly, grow organically. It's literally just the two of us. We do everything. And we're like, we just want to like operate really smart and watch what's happening in the industry. And then if things are great, we can turn on the fire hose and grow fast. But we don't want to like put ourselves in a bad situation. We are prepared for that though. I think that one of the advantages of being such a small product is we're also not really fighting for a lot of shelf space. We're not trying to kick off any alcohol from the shelves. We're not trying to like take up space and like compete for 6-packs. We're so tiny. We could be like on the counter or at checkout or an end cap. And we really are very friendly in our business structure and in our product. We're not trying to tell people what to drink. We very much are a drink booster. We're not trying to tell you what your favorite drink is or what you should be drinking. We're trying to tell you that like you already have one. We're just here to enhance it and make it an even more fun experience.
Well, that's great. And come November, here's hoping for the best possible outcome for you and High Snaps and of course all of your fellow THC hemp-derived producers out there. So I'm going to switch gears here and turn it over to Julia.
Yeah, let's talk culinary for a little bit. I know you already mentioned Grant, your husband, American chef and restaurateur, and we'd be remiss not to talk about it a little bit more. Can you tell us how you guys met?
Oh my goodness, we met so long ago. We met for the first time in 2011. I was when I worked in media, and he was in an issue. I believe it's a Esquire or GQ. It was one of those. He was in town because he was featured in a magazine, and we met at the after party of this event. I had no idea who he was. I worked in fashion in 2010. I think it was 2011. I don't think I even ate food that year, really. I really did not understand the restaurant fine dining space, but we really, really connected and had this whirlwind relationship. We went out to eat a lot that weekend, and we flew to Japan, went on a food research trip together, and then flew to London. We literally flew around the world the first month that we met. And we went to London for the 50 Best Awards, and then landed back in New York 3 weeks later. And we had this like lovely long distance relationship. I came to Chicago a few times, and I really just didn't understand like chef's schedule. I would be like, why aren't you texting me back? What could you possibly be doing? Or like, why aren't you ever around on a weekend? And so our first attempt at a relationship was very short lived. And then we were actually apart for 7 years, and we kind of just both lived our lives. Like, I had a lot to do in my career. He was kind of just doing his thing in Chicago. And 7 years later, I had already moved to LA. I had gotten out of a relationship. I was just having people over to my house, and a friend of a friend had come in, and she had said she just got back from this great restaurant, Alinea, in Chicago. And I was like, oh my God, hands down, like all the boyfriends I've ever had, Grant was my favorite one. Like, haven't talked to him in years. And I just randomly texted him, hi, chef, and with a little like wave emoji. And he said he dropped his phone on the pass when that text came in, because he also had just kind of gotten out of a relationship recently. And I said, how are you? And he said, I will let you know at dinner tomorrow. And he flew to LA the next day. And we were like, what have we been doing? Like, all this time apart. And we got engaged a couple of days later. And that was almost 6 years ago.
Oh, what an incredible story.
Yeah, it was quite romantic. He's very over the top, very quick decision maker, very creative.
You mentioned that he was involved in the beginning stages of developing High Snaps. Do you guys bounce creative ideas off of each other all the time, or what's that like at home?
Oh, totally. Yes, I think that being married to a fine dining chef, which I think anyone who works in fine dining is an artist as much as they are a craftsman, it really changes your brain chemistry and how you look and experience everything in the world. We bounce ideas off each other all the time, because I also come from a marketing background and like brand strategy and story and like aesthetic. And Grant doesn't care about any of that as much as he cares about the food. And so we will butt heads a lot on, like, I'll be like, how are you telling the story? Or like, what is the merch? Or like, what's the content? And he'll be like, I don't care. What? Why? Doesn't everyone already know everything about how I made shaved caviar? And I'm like, no, how does anyone know what's in your head? So we talk about these a lot. And I was really involved in their pop-up tour this past year for the 20th anniversary of Alinea. I helped a lot with kind of like the creative development and like what the experiential moments looked like, and like I designed a lot of the playbills, which is kind of like the take home menu creative that you get at all the dinners. And yeah, both of us had stopped drinking alcohol a few years ago. I think before it came it's very trendy to stop drinking alcohol now, or to like swap it out a few nights a week. And we had fallen in love with hemp drinks. I think you kind of want a switch off at the end of the day, or like sometimes moments are like really stressful and you just want to escape or like relax. And experiencing, tasting different drinks with him is also a totally different experience. Especially when I started to develop drinks, I would get samples in plastic. I'd be like, oh, can you taste this? And he was like, where's the glass? Or like, what is happening? And I would take a sip of something and be like, oh, it tastes pretty good. It's kind of sweet, would be like the end of my notes. And then he would take the same sip and I would have to get out my computer because he would have so many things to say about this. I was like, oh my God, this poor formulator is going to be so upset. But it's a really fun creative process to bounce off. The way he thinks is really unique, and doing that together, because we both think so differently. But we kind of have the same aesthetic and the same understanding and the same value of intention and story. And that, I think, is like what is behind everything.
Well, it sounds like you guys are a match made in heaven.
So, Sam, you mentioned Alinea, obviously, is a beautiful Michelin-starred restaurant, and I'm sure you've enjoyed many, many a fine meal in your own husband's restaurants, but you must occasionally enjoy dining out elsewhere in Chicago, which is a great restaurant town. What are some of your other favorite places?
This is such a tricky question to answer.
Let's start with a steakhouse.
Oh, okay. That's actually easy. We actually go to Gibson's all the time. In the summer, Grant's favorite place to go, he's just like, let's just go to Gibson's. It's always like good energy. It's such a Chicago classic, really simple food. We actually, the two of us both eat very simply, which I think is the most disappointing answer that people get. I actually have a food allergy. I'm allergic to citrus. And he has a lot of like food restrictions just from, being a long-term cancer survivor. And so the two of us actually eat like really simple foods. And then I'm also like, and we're cheap dates because we don't drink alcohol. So steakhouse is always like such a great go for us. We also love going to like Joe's Stone Crab. Asador Bastion, I think, is like one of the best steakhouses in Chicago. And it's a really, really beautiful experience there. If you haven't been there, I highly recommend it. It's the upstairs kind of looks like a room in Alinea. And I'm like, oh, wow, this really kind of feels like this intimate, cozy setting, but you just know that the ingredients and the quality of product is there. So we love a steakhouse.
That's great. And of course, everybody knows that Chicagoans are in love with deep dish pizza. So do you have a favorite deep dish pizza place?
So I was literally just going back and forth on social media with Lim Achatz. I think their butter crust deep dish is so good, and a high snap on top of that would be insane. It would be so delicious because our emulsion is a tiny bit sweet. These like really savory, crispy foods are so good. Our first experience of this, we went to the Atelier Cren anniversary party in San Francisco, and Dominique and her whole staff are huge High Snaps fans. But I kind of went to this party expecting like 3 Michelin star like meals or bites. And, they went the chef route too. And it was caviar on inside of bags of potato chips and Wagyu hot dogs and truffle mac and cheese. And we had like squeezed High Snaps on all of these things. And that was my first experience of being like, wait, it is so good on savory food. Like, this is crazy.
What a great idea. That's
I highly recommend. But like Lim Achatz, I know there's so many. I'm going to get like totally burned for that. I also though really love Zarella for like their thin slice pizza.
New York style or not?
No, they definitely don't call it New York style. But but the crispy square, when it's cut into thin squares, Zarella's is very good. Those are my pizza answers.
Okay, good. Those are great. And now, of course, no true Chicagoan could get out of an interview with me without talking about sports. Chicagoans love their sports. So tell me, do you follow any sports? And if so, what are your favorite teams?
So I'm going to start following the sports at the United Center now because they just started serving THC drinks at all of their events. And I think that Danny Wirtz has made such a huge, amazing, great call in being a massively significant change maker in saying THC drinks are great and we are going to serve them at the United Center. And so people need to just get on board. He gave me a great, review when he tried his High Snaps. I tried to get in there and he was like, it's a little more complicated than that. But I'm now a diehard Blackhawks fan because of that. And anyone who's playing in the United Center. I think I'm more of a fair weather sports fan. I love when people get really excited over sports games, but I will just be there for the energy and the vibe. I'll cheer for whoever you want, kind of.
Okay. All right.
But I love like the Super Bowl.
Last year, the Bears made a deep run into the NFL playoffs. So,
oh my God, the Bears, that was just so amazing. I would love, and I'm from Indiana, but I think this whole idea of moving the Bears over to Indiana is such an insane thing. I really hope that this new design for building that kind of exoskeleton over Soldier Field is a really innovative way to and a beautiful way to like keep the Bears in Chicago. And I do hope that they stay. And then maybe if we do get that dome, I will go to a football game in the winter.
don't want to brave the elements right now. You'll wait till you've got the comfort.
I'm not good enough of a fan, man. I think also football's so hard because you see it so much better on TV that when you're there, unless you have like killer seats, it's kind of hard to see the game.
Yeah, I feel your pain. Well, thank you for putting up with my sports questions. So,
no, who's your favorite sports team? What is your sport?
Well, I love right now. For the past 5 years, actually, it was sort of a COVID thing. I always wanted to play tennis better, and I played tennis my whole life. But I really wanted to take lessons, really get good, and so now I'm absolutely obsessed. And I used to be a huge baseball and football fan, and I still am. But tennis is sort of overtaken. And it's
Are you playing tennis, or you're not playing pickleball?
Actually, I play pickleball too. My wife and I play pickleball, but I'm a tennis fanatic. So And the great thing about tennis is it goes all year long. There's really no off season. So
yeah, absolutely. I grew up playing tennis. I wasn't that great at it, but there's something about playing the game and then that makes watching the game watching the matches so much more of, you have so much more empathy for how good the players are.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's such a fun sport to watch. I do love when like the pro tennis players get into those pickleball tournaments and like play really aggressive pickleball. So I totally commend. I think tennis is also having a renaissance, is a very like fashion statement too. So there's a lot of like a whole new like young audience. I love tennis.
Yeah, it's true. You see a lot of social media influencers at the matches. But
yeah.
Also you see a lot
Are we going to see your
people.
social media page, your tennis page soon?
Probably not. But one thing I do love seeing is young tennis fans, children, young kids, they're, rooting for their favorite players and getting into playing tennis. And there's that sort of ongoing, not a renaissance really, but just sort of a passing of the torch from older players to younger players. And it's really good to see, because tennis is such a healthy sport. It's, it's so easy for children to get into, and it's just a great, healthy pastime. So I love seeing young people getting turned on to tennis.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So I think we have just a few minutes left for some fun lightning round questions. So light, fun, whatever comes to mind. What was the first brand you ever had a crush on?
Oh my God. The first brand I ever had a crush on, speaking of tennis, I had a pair of Andre Agassi Nike sneakers when I was 8 years old. And I begged my mom for them. They were yellow and black. And I thought that they kind of like looked like his hair a little bit. And I wore them to my first tennis tournament. I loved Nike when I was a kid. I was a total tomboy. I had a pair of like Air Jordans. I had the pumps. Like I was a sneaker kid when I was in elementary school. That's probably the first brand I can remember.
Your favorite city for creative inspiration?
I think I'm going to say New York. There's just no place like it. It's such a melting pot of culture, and you can just kind of stumble in the street and walk into your next adventure. You certainly can't do that in Chicago. I think it's the city is a little bit bigger and more spread out, by far way cleaner than New York. But I think you do lose a little bit of that like cultural overstimulation and like creative inspiration at every corner.
It's impossible not to be inspired in New York.
Yeah.
What's one makeup product you can't live without?
Chapstick. I am like a lip balm addict. I use, what is this? Bioderma lip balm. It's kind of like a scent-free, very simple balm that's like $10 on Amazon, but you can kind of like use it on all of your skin. But Grant and I are both kind of addicted to it. I buy them by like the dozen.
What's one trend you wish would come back in style?
Oh, every trend comes back in style. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to trends until it's an old trend that comes back in style. That's a tough one. I don't know. I think everyone should just kind of like do what makes them feel good.
Oh, love that. And can you share with us just what your best piece of creative advice you've ever been given?
My best piece of creative advice would be just always have your eyes open. I think that the lesson that I learn over and over every day in this business is when you are trying to force something and it's just not working, and, your gut instinct is to like, just try harder and to keep going. And you're like, just give it a little bit more effort. Grant's philosophy is, if you ask Grant, like why he is the best or how he got to be the best, his answer is that he'll just say that he just worked harder or worked for longer, like when people wanted to give up. And, I think a lot of us like really can push through when things get hard. But what I have learned when it comes to creative, it is way better to just stop and go outside and go on a walk or go to the dinner with the friend, or like, don't cancel the coffee that you're too busy for because you're trying to do the thing. Because more often than not, like when your brain kind of switches into that less adrenaline, less stressed, less lowered cortisol mode, you will be able to get to that idea. I'm going to plug our product one more time here. That is part of something that happens to you when you have a low dose of THC, is that there are things that switch off in your brain. So a lot of people think that that THC can make you more creative. And that's not entirely true. Like what's actually happening is that it is turning off the self-judgment, self-doubt, the kind of protection chemicals in your mind that your creative ideas that are already inside of you, that are already there, are able to flow through you and like come out. And so people who say like, oh, I say such silly things like on weed, or I am so funny, like you are silly and you are funny. You just are kind of like keeping that in and holding that back. So I think, everyone is creative and everyone has a creative point of view. And the more like relaxed you are and the, kind of just more you let it flow through you, like the more will come out.
Well, that's great advice, Sam. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you for being on the show today. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you. And thank you for sharing your past, present, and some of your future with us here on Served Up. It's been really, really great. And I wish you, again, the best of luck. In November, I hope it turns out just the way it should for you. So again, thank you so much for being on Served Up.
Can't wait to see what you do next.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.